You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel Efeni.
Good morning, Kashi.
You're welcome.
Welcome back from vacation.
Good morning, Ruben.
I hope you had a good time.
Yes, I did. I rested.
Look what
You're fully energized for the year.
Ready.
Yes, very good.
Well,
so what do you have for us?
Happy New Year to all Nigerians.
Yes.
And our viewers out there across the world. Yes, let's start with the newspapers. Lead story of this day, a different kind of story, you may ask me. 20 Nigerians who will shape Nigeria's policy and politics in 2020. This is vintage these day newspapers. And I've taken a look at these Nigerians who are likely to shape what will happen in 2020 in politics, in business, and in the economy. Of course, on top of that is President Muhammadu Buhari himself, the man whom the buck stops at his table. Of course, he set the tone yesterday with that letter to Nigerians, which graced the front page of several newspapers. It's been the talk of the town. Critics and supporters alike are having their say. But if you look at this list, President Buhari is there. Atiku Abubakar is also being mentioned, surprisingly, because at 77 now, or is he still going to contest?
76?
76. Is he still going to contest the election in 2023? But one thing you cannot take from Atiku is that is going to be a key factor. Whether he's contesting or backing a candidate, he has the structure, the war chest to do so. So he remains a factor.
Well, since you've made the point about age, just to note that, some persons in the House of Representatives are already planning to
exclude old men.
To introduce a constitutional amendment to exclude anybody that is 70 years old from running for office in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they will go ahead with it this new year and whether indeed it will fly. But there are many Nigerians who believe that once you are over 70, you may have some other challenges, either in terms of pace or in terms of strength, to be able to take on the very difficult task of public service.
Public service.
But there are people who also insist, on the other hand, that age is not the issue. We have seen some 80-year-old men who at 80 years, acquire new wives.
I mean, it's beyond even acquired.
And who still show enough presence of mind to be able to manage their own affairs.
But I think those legislators should be more concerned with the very low qualification that we use
not just
for those who are aspiring for top job instead of age.
Exactly.
How old is President Trump?
Well,
he's doing fantastically well.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about doing fantastically well.
In terms of...
He has turned the economy around.
Close to 80.
In terms of being agile, President Trump is quite agile, if we're talking about agility
It's not a factor. So, I think that legislation...
And I see something here in this story. It says Yemi Osinbajo, the man with first right of refusal. What does that mean?
Well, if you read that...
I've read it. The story doesn't dwell on that.
It doesn't dwell on that.
Yet it gives that.
That's what I'm trying to draw your attention to, that the headline perhaps is not reflective of the content of that aspect of the story. But what will happen to Yemi Osinbajo, because over time, from acting president, perhaps some of the decisions...
No, it's not automatic.
The reason why he was brought into the picture in 2020, it's not 2023 yet.
No, but this is the man with the first right of refusal. What is he refusing? That's not stated by the writer of the story.
It's not stated by the writer of the story. But he is a factor in 2020 because whether his influence is waning from when he acted as president while President Muhammadu Buhari was away on medical vacation, so to speak. That's why he's in the picture. But beyond that, of course, there's also Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the mix of this 2020 former President Olusegun Obasanjo is there.
President Muhammad Buhari
activists out of government, it will continue to perhaps be as critical as usual. Then in the economy.
No, the person you are referring to, activists outside power, that's former President Olusegun
Obasanjo.
Yes. Well, I'm not too sure that President Obasanjo sees himself as an activist. He considers himself, and is correctly so,
an elder statesman.
A statesman.
Yes.
A global statesman. Not an activist. It's a voice of wisdom, voice of reason within our community.
Well, that's your a better description. I will agree with you. But in terms of his contributions, speaking out and tongue lashing sometimes those in power, that's why it's being referred to as.
Yeah, I mean, it could be referred to as activism, but
he's an elder statesman, a global citizen. I agree with you totally. Let's move on to some other newspapers. Of course, if you look at the Punch newspapers and a number of other newspapers, reaction to the President Buhari's statement yesterday to Nigerians. The Punch newspaper, more knocks, less praise for Buhari on New Year message. Buhari's case is hopeless. He won't change, says Tanko Yakasai. President incapable of feeling Nigerians' pulse, says civil society organization. Perhaps that's the point Akin Oshuntoku was also making, that there seems to be some vacuum between what he's projecting and the mood of the nation. But that is also a segment of the country making that view. Ignore Commander-in-Chief's critics. Buhari Media Organization tells Nigeria. Well, if we quickly look at other newspapers,
I think it's a good message.
Yes.
And I've said it yesterday, and I've said it today. And when Bismarck Rawane, also commended the message, I was very happy that at least there are some people who are thinking like me and who are not members of the All Progressives Congress or a member of the Buhari Media Organization.
But he's a member of the Presidential Economic Council.
Well, I'm not a member of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council. And I can assess, a message. But what I think is important is the point that has been made by some of the commentators. That yes, the president is very specific, he is very inspirational, but we would like to see it in terms of concrete action. We would like to see that connection between rhetoric on New Year Day and service delivery in the course of the year. That's a legitimate point to make. But to dismiss it and
I think,
on a partisan basis, I think
it's a welcome development that President Buhari decided to communicate with Nigerians at that level on New Year's Day, putting certain targets. I was particularly impressed, although it's at the last paragraph. I don't know whether it was. I don't know whether
you put certain things.
I don't know whether it was an afterthought.
No, it's not an afterthought. You write essays, my friend.
Exactly. That was the perfect way to summarize the entire, because he had finished talking about different segments, and he just
the
found
number of roads to be done in a year.
Sometimes you save the best for the
last. Okay, but if you use the inverted pyramid theory of writing stories,
well, if you think
that will not be the case. The most important part should be at the top, Ruben. Well, let's move on.
You want to teach me how to write essays?
No, but he did. He mentioned all these within.
No, but I welcome those specifics.
Just the specifics were at the end.
I welcome those specifics. At the end of the year, we'll count those roads, except that I did not see many roads from the south on that list. But that is another story for another day. But I welcome.
Where is Escravos?
Escravos.
Yes.
There's no. It's not talking of a road.
Not in the
He's talking of a pipeline. Pipeline. That's not the road. I'm talking of road.
What of the housing projects? Have you checked the distribution of the housing estates that you referred to?
I traveled a lot during my vacations. That's story for another day.
How about the Enugu International Airport? Is that not Port Harcourt Airport?
No.
Which will they trade?
I'm talking of roads now. The roads are in terrible condition.
Yeah, but he talks about roads across the country, and infrastructure. So the South is not exclusive.
So anyway, Take
another look at that.
It's a good development.
It is.
At the end of the year, we'll look at it. President Buhari has his budget from day one in 2020, so there will be no excuse not to fulfill these promises. Let's move on to other issues. Nigerian Tribune of the same story, lead story, PDP to Buhari, you have no option but to go in 2023. As Buhari promises to quit in 2023, stable power supply, 13 housing estates, 47 road projects this year. Still the same story.
I mean, Femi Falana did bring up the conversation of the third term agenda, you know, with regards to President Buhari wanting to contest for the third term, and him clearly stating through this message that he has no plans. This is just reiterating what he said, but in a way that makes it look like he had actually said he would run.
Yes, the way it was
stated. And there's no, even Femi Falana has commended the president.
Down. As if there is an option.
No, I'm sure he said that based in response to the conversations around the third term agenda. Okay. So that was him responding to that.
This is not the first time the president will address this.
Exactly.
When he had, a group of northern leaders visiting, he made his statement, and I think we need to, contextualize this, that nobody should even use his name for campaign in 2023 because he's not going to be part of that process, right? After that, there was that altercation between Garuba Shehu and Femi Falana SAN. And now in the New Year message, what the president has done is to reiterate, to reaffirm his position. Of course, he knows that he does not have an option in the matter. Yeah. But you were in this country when some guys called, was the Association for Better Nigeria, and some group, in 2006, 2007, were trying to come up with a third term. He understands that there will be some rogue elements.
The legislator has already tried
who may be using
to raise
who may want to use his name in vain.
And
I think it's important that you have those paragraphs in this message because you can hold him down to those messages. Now, the only thing that I added yesterday is that if anybody organizes any anti-Nigeria group, anti-constitutional illegal group pushing for third term, those persons should be immediately arrested and made to answer.
No, but they have freedom.
Yes, I know
freedom of expression.
No, but you cannot.
Freedom to demonstrate, to associate.
No, if you seek to sabotage the country, sabotage the democratic process,
especially with this statement
that's a kind of felony.
Okay.
Because the fact that you have freedom of expression does not mean you come up with criminal ideas.
Cause chaos within the country.
That can cause and disaffection.
Chaos and anarchy. We don't need that.
The country. Now, a story that should interest us on the front page of the Tribune. 26,039 babies born on New Year's Day in Nigeria. That's according to UNICEF. But that figure itself is 7% of the total number of babies estimated to have been born around the world on January 1 alone. But the story there is that with this figure, Nigeria is number 3 in terms of babies born on that day. Second only to India, number 1, with 67,385 babies. And China with 46,299 babies.
Dr. Ruben, I know why I'm laughing.
So
I'm curious as to why you're laughing.
Well,
population is a major problem for
she's laughing. I'm not laughing because of the activities of Nigerians that is resulting in a lot of babies. But the fact that we are already talking of overpopulation. That is why I'm raising this story.
Of course.
So I don't know why you are laughing.
No, I'm laughing because in a country
it's a serious matter.
It is. In a country where I'm laughing because in a country where overpopulation is a major issue. Let's talk about the baby making syndrome, as I like to call it. When there was a conversation around it saying that it's one of the major causes of this problem is unemployment because a lot of people are idle, so they have nothing better to do. So that's
exactly to make babies.
That it gives them the time. And a lot of people, the concept of family planning, the conversation around family planning. How many people even understand what family planning is? So the freedom of I can just do what I want and I can just have do you have the resources to? That's the amount of children out of school increases by the year because a lot of these families cannot afford to even train them. So we find most children in the streets begging with their parents in the corners, telling them, no, you see that guy, go and tell that auntie she is looking very nice so that she'll give you some money. It's ridiculous.
I think sooner or later, we'll have to do something about population growth.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it serious. Because while, population is increasing geometrically and exponentially, the economy and our resources are increasing on an arithmetical basis. And that's at the bottom of the crisis. We're told that, in fact, by the year, is it 2030 or 2050, there will be over 700 million people in Nigeria. I mean, where is the space for self-actualization, for fulfillment? So, and it's unfortunate that we have a national population policy which was never allowed to function for religious and cultural reasons. So if we're producing this number of children per day, because it's not just New Year Day, I'm sure that if we take the census on a daily basis, the number of people arriving in Nigeria, on a daily basis will be frightening. But again, you have to balance this, if we want to talk scientifically, with death rates.
Yes.
So if you produce so number of new human beings on this day, how many people died that day? But we don't have that statistics. So that would have been the more correct scientific way, to determine it. But the fear, of course, is that our population, even at 3.3% per annum, it's exploding.
It's quite, it's something for concern for now. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, the lead story, why Buhari must do differently this year, Efeni, Arewa Youths, Ohaneze, Pande. Buhari can better the economy, security, that's according to Ohaneze, ADF, and ASETU. Declare emergency in security, economy, Arewa Youths. Recognize top hierarchy, reorganize top hierarchy of armed forces. That's Pandev. It sounds like a broken record, Efeni, CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria. Well, still the reaction to the speech, but if we just look above the masthead, the story from Ilorin, late Olushola Saraki did not pay for revoked land. That's according to Kwara government. That the revocation of the property, the land belonging to the father of former
the
Senate President.
To say is that Governor Abdulrazak, has had a good opportunity to be elected governor. And he should avoid concentrating more on distractions and political battles. I'm sure that in Kwara State...
What looks like vendetta?
Yes. What I'm sure that in Kwara State there is a lot that he can do in the best interest of the people, rather than engaging in family feud and, distracting our attention. You must realize that 4 years is a very short period.
Yes.
So engaging in a war of attrition with the former Senate President is not what the people of Kwara State are looking for.
Well, if we just move over to the foreign newspapers across our borders to Europe, Daily Express, Britain's Daily Express of UK, Britain's economy to be boosted by 282,000 over 65. Job boom for older workers. According to the report, Britain's booming economy will be powered by to new height by over 65 years who want to continue to work.
We're just talking about agility and strength, and look at this.
So you see, in 10 years' time, people in their 60s will deliver more than half of all employment growth. And this will rise to almost to third by the year 2060. That's according to what the Daily Express is reporting. So the older ones are ready to work.
As it should be.
Even over 65.
As it should be.
Perhaps age...
But in France, you seem to have a different situation.
Yes.
Because of implications for pension.
Yeah.
Well, the Daily Mail, if we look at the Daily Mail, shock surge in child anorexia. Experts blame social media and celebrity diet culture as hospital admissions double in a decade. The number of teenagers and young people admitted to hospital for eating disorder on the rise in the UK. And I'm sure you can replicate that in a number of other countries.
Of course.
Yes.
There's so many crazy diets around and a lot of misinformation about certain types of dieting because people would rather find an easy way out to just living a healthy life.
And about image, appearance.
Exactly.
Body shaping and all of that.
It's a reality. Yes. Social media isn't helping. You find a lot of women looking a certain type of way and portraying it as oh, this is how I was born, when in fact that is not real. So there's a lot of misinformation. People are being deceived, and then they try to do certain things, especially for marketing purposes. They tell you, drink this tea.
But the fact that this is affecting children is what makes it even more serious.
Because they're more gullible to this. They're more receptive to peer pressure, you know? So that's why it's beginning to affect them. I mean, at 15, at 12, some of these people have over 15,000 followers on Instagram.
Anyway, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni. We'll see you tomorrow, Friday. Thank you.